rallying call. As both presidential candidates hit the campaign trail, we have a preview of what the Trump administration would prioritize in a second term. Balance of power, a preview of races in several states, including Alabama, that will determine which party holds the majority in the Senate. Terror in France. 3 people are killed after an attack inside of a Catholic church. We have the latest. And lasting legacy. A closer look at Father Michael McGivney, founder of the Knights of Columbus, ahead of his beatification this weekend. On EWTN News Nightly for Thursday, October 29th, 2020. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tracy Sable. With just 5 days before the U.S. election, both presidential candidates held competing campaign rallies in Florida. The state is considered critical to winning the race for the White House. President Donald Trump appealed to voters in Tampa.
We created the greatest economy in history, and now we are doing it again. See all that hat, that beautiful hat? Let's make America great again, right? We're going to make a new one. Let's make America great again.
President Trump was joined on stage by First Lady Melania Trump. She says they have blocked out the noise and focused on the American people, while the president's Democratic rival Joe Biden is making his pitch to the middle class.
Wall Street and CEOs didn't build this country. People standing out here in their automobiles, you're the ones that built this country. The middle class built this country.
After holding overlapping rallies today in Florida, both candidates are scheduled to make appearances tomorrow in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Joe Biden will also stop in Iowa, while President Trump visits Michigan. Protection of the unborn, school choice, religious liberty, reopening classrooms, they are all on the table coming Tuesday. The top White House domestic policy advisor discussed all those pressing issues today with White House correspondent Owen Jensen.
This election has consequences. All elections have consequences.
Brooke Rollins is President Donald Trump's domestic policy advisor. And on a very rainy day at the White House, she talked about President Trump's fight to protect unborn children.
On the issue of life, President Trump has been more pro-life, arguably, than any president before him. He has been just resolute in his dedication to protecting the dignity and the vulnerability of those who have yet to be born. And so we will continue that fight. Obviously, the other side doesn't believe the same that we do. And I think all of the great steps that have been made under the Life banner will obviously will go into retreat and maybe even back further than we've ever been before on the issue of life.
And on the issue of religious liberty.
Well, again, just like life, I think this president has been so convicted and passionate and led the way in terms of presidencies and White Houses and administrations on the fight for true religious liberty. And it really was a contrast, right? That the left and especially blue states, even today, are shutting down churches, shut down churches, wouldn't let people to worship in the way that our great founding fathers envisioned, in the way they thought best, in the way that they were personally convicted to do. But at the same time, there were thousands of people marching, burning down statues, lighting churches on fire, destroying small businesses that people had spent their lifetime building. And the president won't stand for that.
The pandemic reduced religious gatherings, and millions of students across the country remain at home.
And so it is time to get this country back to work. It is time to get these kids back in school. It is time to get these churches open everywhere.
The coronavirus pandemic has also renewed the debate about school choice.
85% of African American parents in this country believe in school choice, a similar number with Hispanics, a similar number with, basically all Americans. So this president from day one has said he's going to fight for school choice. He will continue to do so.
On health care, Brooke Rollins says the left has made it seem like people with pre-existing conditions are about to be left out in the rain.
This president has made, over 4 years, Obamacare better. We don't like it, but if we've got it, we're going to make it better. If the court strikes it down, and of course they're going to hear arguments in about 2 weeks, the decision comes next year during the summer. If it is struck down, we have $1.8 trillion set aside under the old Obamacare system over 10 years that we will use to ensure that people with pre-existing conditions not only had the care they had before, but they have it even better, again, at a lower cost with more choices.
Brooke Rollins wholly expects President Trump to win Tuesday, but if not,
we'll be fighting for the good and righteous causes up until the very end.
At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Both President Donald Trump and Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden are going all out to reach voters, leaving nothing to chance with Election Day fast approaching. Joining me now on Skype to offer his analysis is Ramesh Ponnuru, visiting fellow at American Enterprise Institute. Ramesh, welcome back. Great to have you on the show again. Both President Trump and Joe Biden are in the key battleground state of Florida today, as we mentioned. Where do things stand for both candidates at this moment?
Well, thank you for having me. Florida is absolutely a critical state for President Trump's reelection. He won Michigan and Wisconsin in the 2016 election, but he could lose both of them and still win reelection. He can't lose Florida. Florida is a must-have for Donald Trump, practically speaking. And the race is quite tight there. A lot of the polls, if you average them out, they come to be about within 1 or 2 points of each other, Biden and Trump. So this is going to be a pretty closely fought state.
Yeah, and their leisure and hospitality industry has been hit hard by the coronavirus in Florida. But there are encouraging numbers out today for the U.S. economy as a whole. How do you think that news works into the president's advantage? And do you think that's something that he's likely to stress going forward?
Well, there is a strong economic recovery. We did have some very heartening numbers, but it's very uneven. And as you're suggesting, one of the problems we're having is that in the service industries of our economy, we still have a pretty deep problem, with the exception of that being healthcare. The retail side's doing well, hospitals doing well, but things like airlines, travel, hospitality, all of those things are really suffering. I think that the numbers are confirming what's going on in people's lives. And to the extent that people's economic conditions and what they feel in their bank accounts is affecting their votes, that's already baked in. And the number just generates a little bit more favorable news coverage. But I don't think that you're going to get much more oomph out of those numbers politically for President Trump. All through this crisis, President Trump's numbers on the economy have actually held up reasonably well, that people have not held him responsible for bad economic conditions. And to some extent, a lot of households have actually been insulated from some of the bad economic conditions.
Well, tomorrow, President Trump and Joe Biden, they both head back to the Midwest. Ramesh, what will you be on the lookout for when it comes to both sides?
Well, I think you want to know what are the closing themes that each candidate is emphasizing. In Biden's case, does he want to make the case for these allegedly transformative policies? Well, probably they would be transformative, whether good or ill. Or does he want to make the case, I'm not Donald Trump, just vote for me because you're sick of Donald Trump? In Trump's case, one question is, how disciplined a candidate is he going to be? Sometimes he can have a pretty tight focus. Toward the end of the 2016 campaign, he did. Sometimes he can kind of flip from post to post. I think that probably the most effective message for Trump now is to talk about the radicalism of the Democratic Party, how left-wing it has gotten, not so much about Biden specifically, but about his party and its radicalism on economic issues, and especially on social issues like abortion and religious liberty. Sometimes Trump hits those notes very effectively. We'll see if he does in the next few days.
Okay, we'll leave it right there. Thank you so much, Ramesh. Ramesh Ponnuru, visiting fellow at American Enterprise Institute. Always appreciate your analysis. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Well, on Tuesday, voters will decide who holds the reins of power in the U.S. Senate. As we mentioned last night, Republicans are eyeing some key races that they need to win, and that includes states such as Alabama, Arizona, and North Carolina. And Democrats know they need to win just 4 seats to take the majority. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales reports.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is hoping election 2020 will make him the majority leader.
Democrats must take back the Senate.
And Republicans are fighting to keep the upper chamber. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida says giving control to Democrats would change America.
And that means the end of conservative judges. That means the end of all these good laws. That means tax increases. That means America will be less safe.
In North Carolina, Republican Senator Tom Tillis is trailing Democrat Cal Cunningham by 3 points, 48 to 45%. The Democratic challenger, a married father of 2 and an officer in the Army, is endorsed by Planned Parenthood Action Fund, who says, quote, Cal Cunningham has promised to protect abortion access. In Alabama.
Hi, this is Tommy Tuberville, and it's time.
Former Auburn football coach Republican Tommy Tuberville is looking for a win for the GOP. Polls give him a whopping 13-point lead over Democrat incumbent Doug Jones. And in Arizona, Republican Senator Martha McSally is fighting to keep her seat against Democrat Mark Kelly. Fellow Republican Senator Rick Scott of Florida is campaigning with her today. He tells me Republicans need to hang on to their majority.
Whether attacking the court, which will impact our religious freedoms and our gun rights, all these things are important. So I want to keep a majority in the Senate, and I want to make sure Martha McSally comes back.
At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
3 people are dead following an attack inside of a Catholic church in France. A strike occurred at the Notre Dame Basilica in the Mediterranean city of Nice. The country's prime minister has placed France on maximum alert. The suspect, who is believed to have acted alone, is in the hospital after being shot by police. A motive has not been released. France's anti-terrorism prosecutor has opened an investigation. It was France's 3rd terror attack in 2 months. EWTN Newsroom correspondent Colin Flynn joins us now. Colin, good to see you. So I know investigations are still going on, but what do we know right now?
Good evening, Tracy. Well, what we know at the moment is that at 9 a.m. local time this morning in the city of Nice in the south of France, a man entered the Basilica of Notre Dame. Now, this basilica is right in the heart of the city, close to one of the busiest streets. And eyewitnesses say that they heard the man repeatedly yell, Allahu Akbar, which is Arabic for God is great. He shouted this repeatedly as he went on to attack several people with a knife, killing 3 people. Eyewitnesses within the basilica said that the first woman he attacked, he cut her throat and virtually decapitated the woman. Now, survivors of this horrific attack, their condition and the state they're in at the moment is unknown, but they are being treated in local hospitals. And the mayor of Nice immediately took to social media declaring this a terrorist attack. And he ordered that all places of worship across the city of Nice close immediately while French police deployed their anti-terrorism unit. A bomb squad went to the scene, and throughout the day, heavily armed anti-terrorism police have been patrolling the city streets in Nice and the streets of cities across France.
Colin, this is so terrible. What do we know about the suspect? Any more specifics?
Very little is known about the alleged attacker at the moment, Tracy, although eyewitnesses say that he appeared quite young, around 25 years of age. Gunshots were heard in the area at the time by several people, and it's been reported that police shot at him, hit him, but did not kill him, and he is being treated in hospital at the moment as well. Authorities have also said they believe he was acting alone, and this comes, Tracy, after days of protesting outside French embassies in a number of majority Muslim countries around the world after French President Macron's comments defending the publication of cartoons depicting the Prophet Muhammad. And you'll remember that it was only a month ago when a French teacher was decapitated in another horrific attack in France. The attacker in that case said that he did it to punish the teacher for, again, showing his students cartoons depicting the Prophet Muhammad.
Colin, what about the church? Any reaction from church officials there?
Well, we'll start in France, Tracy, and the French Bishops' Conference, they've asked churches across the country to toll their bells in memory of the 3 people who passed away in this attack. And they also said the murders perpetrated this morning in Nice in the Basilica of Notre Dame plunge the French Bishops' Conference into immense sadness. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims, the injured, their family and the loved ones. These deaths remind us of martyrdom. And here at the Vatican, the director of the press office of the Holy See, Matteo Bruni, he stated the following. He said, "It is a moment of pain, a time of confusion. Terrorism and violence can never be accepted. He said that the Pope has been informed of the situation and is close to the mourning Catholic community. He prays for the victims and their loved ones so that violence may cease and so that we may return to look upon ourselves as brothers and sisters and not as enemies.
Well, Colin, thanks so much. I know you will continue to follow this story for us. Colin Flynn, EWTN Newsroom correspondent. Thanks again, Colin.
Thank you, Tracy.
Poland's President Andrzej Duda has partially broken ranks with his country's conservative leadership and says that he thinks women should have the right to abortions when they are carrying babies with fatal birth defects. Crowds continue to gather in cities across Poland in a mass outpouring of anger. Last Thursday, a top court banned abortions, even in cases of birth defects. Protesters today marched on Parliament, which was surrounded by police officers in riot gear. Coming up, the head of the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C. tells us his reaction to being named a cardinal. On Sunday, Pope Francis named Washington Archbishop Wilton Gregory a cardinal. This appointment is historic as Archbishop Gregory will become the first African American to be elevated to the College of Cardinals. Joining me now on Skype is Cardinal Designate Wilton Gregory. Your Excellency, welcome back. So good to see you, and thank you for your time. First off, congratulations. Is this something that you were expecting, and what was your reaction to becoming a member of the college?
Well, first of all, Tracy, thank you very much for your kind greeting. No, I wasn't expecting, and I didn't have any advance notice. As you may know, the Holy Father, in his approach to naming cardinals, follows a pattern where he spontaneously announces his intention to hold a consistory and then lists the names of those men that he will name to the College of Cardinals. So there was no advance notice, and I only found out about 5 minutes after the Angelus was concluded on Sunday, because I got a phone call from Cardinal Kevin Farrell, who said he wanted to be the first to wish me best wishes and congratulations on having been named a cardinal.
Well, I know that you worked very closely with the late Cardinal Joseph Bernardine in Chicago. Are there any particular cardinals or figures from church history that maybe you look to as you become a cardinal yourself?
Well, obviously, you've already cited Cardinal Bernardine, who was the Archbishop in Chicago, who proposed my name to Pope St. John Paul II to be named his auxiliary, and then I spent 10 years with him as his auxiliary, learning from him, both as bishop and in his role as a cardinal of the church. But I've come to know a number of other cardinals, obviously, primarily the American cardinals, who I've worked with in the conference. And so they've given me good example and encouragement. I've heard from many of them who in the past couple of days have called to congratulate me. There are a number of cardinals in Rome that I know through association with the works of the Holy See. So I have a few mentors that I can turn to.
You took over the Archdiocese of Washington, we know, with the huge task of healing the loss of trust here, especially after the time of Theodore McCarrick. What do you think Washingtonians should know how you might heal the trust now as a member of the College of Cardinals?
Well, Tracy, as I said from that introductory interview on April 4th of last year, I will try always to tell the truth to the people and to be in a warm and loving relationship with this flock, as I have tried to be in a warm and loving relationship with the people of the Archdiocese of Atlanta, the Diocese of Belleville, and my own home diocese of Chicago. It's a person-to-person kind of involvement that establishes trust. Trust can very easily be broken, but it takes a while to establish it and anchor it in one's life.
Your Excellency, do you think that in your new role, do you think it will help in expediting the release of the McCarrick report, as people have been waiting for it for a while now?
Well, Tracy, I have already, on several occasions, inquired from the Holy See when the report would be issued. I know people are anxious. I'm anxious to have the report so that we can learn what indeed did happen. And as soon as the report is out, I dare say people will read it carefully. I hope they read it carefully. And I hope it's fair, balanced, and complete.
Well, before we let you go, I'd like to ask your reflections on today's terrorist attack in France.
Tracy, it is another example of the very hostile environment that we currently live in the world. The people of France obviously have been terrorized on a number of occasions, and I join my prayers with those of Pope Francis and men and women of goodwill across the world who seek to console the families whose loved ones have been killed or injured, and to call all of us to a spirit of mutual respect. I think that's basically the touchstone of the Holy Father's recent encyclical, Fratelli Tutti, that we need to recognize that we are linked together as brothers and sisters, and that bond is too precious to be destroyed by hatred and violence.
Well, Your Excellency, thank you so much for your time today. Congratulations again, Cardinal Designate Wilton Gregory of the Archdiocese of Washington. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. God bless you.
Tonight on EWTN Pro-Life Weekly, the chair of the U.S. Catholic Bishops' Conference Pro-Life Committee has advice for the faithful voting in the election.
We see it as an issue unlike any other. There are many important issues that we care about as Catholics, many that we consider, but there's none that rise to this level of importance as the abortion issue and the protecting of the unborn and protecting their parents as well.
Archbishop Joseph Naumann of the Archdiocese of Kansas City explains why the church asked the faithful to prioritize life when casting ballots. That is tonight on EWTN Pro-Life Weekly at 10 p.m. Eastern. Up next, the legacy of Knights of Columbus founder Father Michael McGivney ahead of his beatification this weekend. The founder of the Knights of Columbus will soon be one step closer to sainthood. Father Michael McGivney was a 19th century parish priest. This Saturday, he will be beatified in Connecticut, a place where he lived a simple life of service. But the legacy of Father Michael McGivney lives on around the world. Correspondent Mark Irons reports.
A charitable Catholic organization with more than 2 million members around the globe serving those in need was started by one parish priest who saw the needs in his own small community. In New Haven, Connecticut, Irish immigrants struggled financially, faced discrimination, and their Catholic faith was challenged.
He needed to care for these families.
So in 1881, Father Michael McGivney gathered a group of men together at St. Mary's Church. It was the initial meeting of what would become the Knights of Columbus. Jonathan Reyes with the organization today told me about Father McGivney's goal.
He's looking at the fact that there are men who need to be grounded in the faith, and they need to take care of their families. So he wants good family men, good fathers, and he wants them protected. So he creates a fraternal organization.
Though Father McGivney would spend his life serving Catholics in Connecticut, where he would found the Knights of Columbus, he actually finished his seminary studies in Baltimore and was ordained right here in what is now the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary and the Co-Cathedral in Baltimore. Archbishop of Baltimore William Laurie is the Supreme Chaplain of the Knights of Columbus. In a documentary on Father McGivney, the Archbishop speaks about Father McGivney's time in the seminary.
He had a great capacity for friendship, which would serve him very well as a priest.
And today, the life of Father McGivney leaves a model for parish priests.
It's always been appealing that he's sort of a meat and potatoes priest that got the Knights going.
Father McGivney experienced suffering. While studying for the priesthood, his father died. Father Paul Scalia, the vicar for clergy in the Diocese of Arlington, says that experience of loss made him aware of those struggling around him.
He shows a great concern for those who are vulnerable, for the families who are in need.
Our world needs a witness of radical charity.
The legacy of Father Michael McGivney lives on, as he will soon be named blessed and continue down a path that could one day lead to sainthood. Mark Irons, EWTN News Nightly.
And a reminder that you can follow the beatification of Father Michael McGivney right here on EWTN. Special programming starts tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern with a prayer vigil. The beatification mass is Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern is a program, A Witness for the World, the global impact of Blessed Michael McGivney. For more details, visit EWTN.com. And we thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sable. Good night and God bless.